So having said that, let's go ahead and do a split unmask points. And now we've got his body and his legs here. We'll go ahead and Control Shift, grab his legs, and then just do a split hidden, or however you want to split those up. So Alt tap his pants here, and now we can go in here, and I'm going to use H polish. So BH, we'll grab you the H polish brush, and we'll just kind of clean that up here. And I'm holding down Alt while I H polish to polish up to that edge. And then you can hold down Shift to kind of smooth that out, re-Dynamesh. Same thing for the bottom of his leg, just hold down Alt, and that'll polish it back down. If it ever does that, it's finding a hole somewhere in your mesh. Sometimes smoothing will help. And make sure groups is turned off while you're Dynameshing. That'll cause some problems too. So yeah, we got some nasty poly groups in here. So I've got groups turned off. You do mask pin. And then we'll hit Control W. There we go. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned that earlier. You know, when I turn groups on, always be careful to turn groups off, because that'll happen. If you have a polygroup here and then thin polygroups here, and you have groups on, it'll try and Dynamesh this as its own separate group and turn into like a spider webby mesh, and it's not very pleasant to work with. So we got a little pair of pants here, and we can kind of use the move brush to kind of clean this up. H polish, you can actually clip this to a straight line if you want to, but that's looking okay. We'll Alt tap his body here. We didn't lose his poly paint, did we? Ah, we did. That's okay. We'll get it back. So we'll go back here. We'll center him just a little bit. Standard brush with RGB on. And boom, we have this back. I just need to know where to make his cut lines. And of course we want to dumb that back, so RGB intensity, color, knock that back. And we're back where we started. Go into solo mode here, like so. Okay, so moving right along, do the same thing for his arms here. I'm going to hold down Control Shift. And this one I'm just going to do visibility. So I'm going to grab, and you can hold down spacebar just like in Photoshop and just kind of move these things around. Kind of go through here, grabs this side, we'll do a quick split hidden Dynamesh. Now we got a pair of arms separately, Alt tap his body. We got a shirt, we need to split his head off. So this one I am going to use the split tool. And just looking at his, just to make sure I know where this is going, I'm going to do a dark gray and then hit L to toggle my lazy mouse back on, and we'll just kind of, okay, that's where I want my line to be, right there. Let's do Control Shift, slice curve, and we'll just slice him here. And before I do that, hit undo. I'm going to turn off his poly paint temporarily, hit Control W to make it all one poly group, and then bring his poly paint back, Control Shift, and we're just going to slice him. So right above that gradient line is going to be another poly group. Yeah, go ahead and keep groups on, Control drag, Control Shift A. Let's do, yeah, Control Shift the top part. Control Shift A to select it all, and then we'll just do a quick split hidden. So now we've got a body. This is actually his t-shirt now. So go out of solo mode here. And, you know, he doesn't really have his pants or his shirt tucked in. So I'm actually going to take his pants here and kind of move them back just a tad. I want a differentiation between those two pieces of clothing here, and it could be they're sitting right on top of each other and it kind of bevels in, and that would have been a really easy panel loops, but oh well, we've gone too far down the sculpting path. So now what I'm going to do is select his t-shirt, and I want to just look at the t-shirt visibility, so I'm going to shoot that to the top, hold down Shift, bent arrow up, and then Alt tap the pants, Shift, bent arrow up, and then I can hit this eyeball to isolate just the pants. Hit the name tag just so I can get the eyeball turned back on, because if I don't and I turn that back on, it turns them all on. So all off, name tag, shirt, and now I just isolated these two. And now let's clean this up. So I've got his body right here. I'm going to do a quick mask curve, and I'm going to tap Alt once as I drag to kind of get that Bezier curve. Alt tap to isolate, hold down Control Shift, and we'll do a quick clip curve, and we'll clip this up to the gradient this time. And that'll make me a perfectly straight line. And then with a shirt isolate, I'm going to hit transparent, and I'm just going to do clip curve, and I'm going to clip it to that pants line. So now his shirt's sitting right on top of his pants. Not the most elegant way, I could have done that, but we're learning as we go. So now I can kind of move his pants in, because remember I inflated him out, but now I'm kind of deciding, you know, do I want his pants just sitting on top of his shirt, and then Alt tap his shirt, and Alt tap his pants. So now I'm just kind of going through, I'm just like softening that edge, and then Alt tapping the shorts, and then just kind of softening that transition here. So now it looks like two pieces of clay sitting on top of each other instead of like one tucked into the other one. And it really kind of depends on the look you're going for. I think this will work. Now we're going to clean this up eventually with Z-Modeler. Or not Z-Modeler necessarily, but certainly Z-Remesher. We'll see how it goes. But for now, if you're just doing like clay sculpty stuff, this is fine. And if you want to, you can alt-tap the pants and you can make these wider using transpose. You can go here and you can go here and just kind of transpose them back out, whatever look you're going for. But like I said before, we're doing kind of the clay version of this guy if we're just treating ZBrush as like a clay kind of thing here. I'm going to skinny up the tops of his legs here since they're more of just a tube in the cartoon. There we go. Because it looks like he's got kind of a knee in here, and that's not really how it ends up looking. It's more of just a gradual bend here. And then we'll maybe inflate here. Now you can, of course, like I showed you before on the backpack, you can like Z-remesh any of this stuff and it'll just go through and give you a lot fewer points to deal with. But again, we're just kind of sculpting and having fun here. So I'm going to alt-tap his head here, and I'll show you a little trick for this thing if you want to make it a little bit easier to work with. First I'm going to go around and make sure, and again I'm just checking the contours from every angle. You can turn off your polypane if you want to just kind of evaluate just the mesh. Turn polypane back on. Make sure you don't dynamesh with your polypane off, you'll lose it. For the head, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to duplicate the head. So I have two versions of the exact same thing. I'm going to take one of them and go to deformations, inflate, and I'm just going to do a negative like 2 and deflate that. Nothing's going to look like it changed, but if we take your other subtool that you didn't deflate and you grab the clay brush, turn off RGB, and then hold down Alt, you'll actually see that we're sculpting from one to the other. So if you turn off the paintbrush for both of these, you're going to see we're actually sculpting back to our other subtool. So let's turn the polypaint back on. And in fact, I'm going to Alt tap the face one to select it, and I'm going to inflate that a little bit more. Let's do like -5. There we go. Pushes it back even further. We'll take the one that's not inflated, take the standard brush, and again, just have RGB off, Z-add on, and we'll just kind of sculpt this back like so. And then you can sculpt up. So hold down Alt to sculpt back. Don't hold down Alt, and then we'll just turn off the polyframe temporarily, and you can kind of see what that's accomplishing. You can Alt-click the face one. You can re-dynamesh if you'd like, but don't re-dynamesh while polypaint is off. So dynamesh, and then with your polypaint on. And then we'll turn off lazy mouse. We'll hold down Alt, and we'll just give him some eyes. Here's our hat. Here's our face one. Give him some eyes, and then a mouth here. And what? Oh, so when we push this back, let's undo that. When we push the hat back, we didn't really push it back that much. If I go into solo mode here with the hat selected now, you're going to see it only goes in back this far. I'm going to go ahead and hold that Control, grab mask pin. We're just going to mask this little face area out. Control tap to invert, W, find a surface. So I'm going to push that way back in there. And now I'm going to hit Q to go back into draw mode, and then Shift. There we go. That's way back in there. So now when I go and sculpt on his face, Alt tap it. Lazy mouse is off. Hold down Alt and kind of do his little face, his little mouth. And then I'm going to hold down Shift and turn off polypaint for everything. And now we've got kind of a fin going. You see where everything's going to go. We haven't done the backpack yet, but we'll get there. We got the pants, little socks, and the socks still look pretty intense. So I'm going to go in here with W and kind of move them in this way and that way. There we go. Okay. And just like the pants and shirt, you can go through here and you can kind of smooth these transitions out like so. Good enough. Cool. So we basically got a fin sculpted like it was with clay. Really quickly though, I'm going to Alt tap his shirt, and I'm just going to grab the inflate brush, and I'm just going to inflate just a tad right around there. Control drag to Dynamesh, go into my H polish, hold down Alt, and just polish that out. Beautiful. Okay.